Please welcome the Chair of the Board of Vital Voices, Kate James.
Nature is speaking to us, and we can no longer ignore what it says. These are the words of our next honoree, Colombia's Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development, Susana Muhamad, an environmentalist who's become known as a firebrand. Susana is leading the push for climate action within government. In a range of positions, starting at the city level in Bogotá, she's advanced protections for environmental defenders, introduced cutting-edge clean energy solutions, and partnered with local governments across Latin America to develop ambitious climate plans that are setting the region apart as a leading voice on this, the most fundamental issue of our time. 2 years ago, Susana joined President Gustavo Petro's cabinet, and under her leadership, Colombia became the world's first major economy, and an oil-producing one at that, to call for a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. Recently, she led her country's successful bid to host COP16, the United Nations' pivotal next round of negotiations on climate and biodiversity. Susana is calling the upcoming conference the People's COP. She's putting affected communities at the center of the talks that have a habit of shutting them out. She says, it's time for us, finally, to make peace amongst ourselves and make peace with nature. Let's learn a bit more about Susana.
I have this feeling of service since I was very young, and that has guided my life. I got involved in politics because after doing a lot of research, like 8 years of searching how I could affect sustainability, my realization was that this was a power struggle, and power struggle meant getting politically involved. I am Susana Muhamad. I am Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development of Colombia. We are in a process of very strong deforestation in the Amazon. So now as Minister of Environment, that's my main priority, because actually the water cycle in Colombia is very much attached to the Amazon basin. There is this amazing phenomenon where the Amazon produces this humidity that flows through the air, pushed by the winds, and gets into the Andes mountains. This is what we call the floating rivers. This humidity translates into water streams, and that's where 75% of the water of this country comes from. What we are working on is how we can stop deforestation in the country and how we can work with communities to start recovering the nature that we have lost so that we can protect the cycle of water. Colombia has been one of the leading countries globally in environment, but we see a role to actually bring the difficult discussions to the table and to find solutions together, but to the root causes of problems. We know the root of the problem of climate change is an economy based on fossil fuels. It is a way of changing the way we live in. Everybody fighting for their own interests will not bring us to common goals. If we don't make an economic transition in the next 15 years, Colombia will be ruined. Why do we keep working on this, even if it's very difficult to reverse these trends? And what gives me a lot of hope is actually the people on the field. I always see a woman at the front line, protecting the environment. And I also see the vulnerability and the struggles they have to go through to be able to play that role. My hope is in the mobilization of people, and especially the peoples that are the front lines of the climate change situation. What I feel is that my role has been more to open a space for the voices of them to be heard in a political process which is collective. And that's where I put all my bets.
On behalf of Vital Voices, it is my sincere honour to present the Global Leadership Award to Susana Muhamad.
Thank you so much for this recognition. Many times, this type of change really comes from vulnerability. And as a woman that has decided to step forward, even feeling vulnerable around politics and the patriarch system that surrounds us, I have learned a lot of the strength that we need to collect together. We are facing unprecedented times. The climate crisis and the changes that need to happen in the very short term that nature is giving us because of our own impact will rise to many tensions. Those tensions are putting us into two potential roads. The road of authoritarianism, fascism, genocide, as the people of Palestine are facing right now. When one people's roots are crushed, as it is happening, and I am a Palestinian descendant, all humanity is losing. Because we need exactly the diversity of knowledge, ecosystems, the diversity of life to understand how are we going to transit. Nature is trying to adapt and transit this climate change we already produced. Communities are fighting to adapt as well. We need the knowledge, and we need the capacity, and we need the history, and we need the ingenuity of all peoples on earth, and the diversity to be able to transcend, to mitigate, to move forward. We need the best that humanity has. And that is what I have learned in this path, sparkled by the social leaders at the front lines, to which I really, really dedicate this, because I'm only a vehicle for the people that are doing really the work on the field, the environmentalists that put their lives and their lives on the line for making this change, because at the end, this is about making peace, and it's about making peace with nature. And around that, we can build a future. Thank you so much for this recognition.